Welcome to another edition of the Strange Days Audiocast with your host, Jeffery Chapman. It's your Strange Days host, Jeffery Chapman, a.k.a. Chili J, a.k.a. Sport Coat, a.k.a. Chatty Fox the Reaver. People, excuse my delay, my absence. It has been a real stressful couple of weeks, and I'd be lying if I didn't say I didn't feel the effects of it. Now, there is only one thing to talk about this week. I mean, if I tried to talk about anything else, then you might accuse me of being part of the attempted cover-up that is going on right now with Donald Trump and his involvement with the Epstein files. Who knew that this might be the torpedo that finally manages to sink the ship that is the MAGA movement? And I've got to say this before we go any further. I've got to pat myself on the back for once. Right after Trump was elected, I remember speaking with several people who were very upset about it, understandably so. And they were all at the point where they were saying, like, hey, game over, man, game over. And I said to each one of them, I said, don't worry. Before, when the Republicans had the Democrats to fight against, they were united. But now they control all the branches of government, the House, the Senate, the executive branch, the DOJ, the FBI. They even have a stacked Supreme Court. And now with that unity, they will turn on each other and eat each other alive. And these are the things that are now coming to pass. Historically, people, a president would never say anything about any investigations that were taking place that involved him. Biden, for instance, wouldn't say a word about the trouble that his son was in because you don't want to give the impression that you're trying to influence the outcome. Well, that sure ain't the case now. Trump and all of his MAGA cronies, they campaigned on the Epstein files issue. First of all, it was a major part of the QAnon movement, the idea that rich elites within the Democratic Party were abusing young children and that America needed the help of the heroic, the stoic, the morally staunch Republicans to save them. And after promising justice for so long, the MAGA zealots, now they finally have all of the power. And the followers, the base, they're turning to the leaders and saying, okay, we have the power, so let the arrests begin. Let the Gestapoing in the middle of the night begin. And make the Epstein clients as public so we can see who all of these famous Hollywood elites are. The director and the assistant director of the FBI, Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, and spoiler alert, Dan Bongino just quit this past week. All right, he's had enough of the cover-up. But both of them, they made their living propagating this conspiracy theory on an almost daily basis. And so have all of the Steve Bannons, the Laura Loomers, the Megyn Kellys, the Glenn Becks, etc. This was the slop that was being dumped in the media trough every single day by these people. And matters came to a crucial moment not too long ago when Trump's Attorney General, Pam Bondi, again, under pressure from the MAGA faithful, she was asked, when are you going to make that client list available? And she said, well, it's on my desk right now. It's being reviewed. It will be released really soon. Then a couple weeks go by and nothing happened. And then suddenly an official report is released stating that there won't be anything released. Nothing to see here, folks. You know, so in other words, they're trying to pimp the MAGA faithful. You know, are you going to believe us or your lying eyes? So immediately there's an uproar. And Trump selects several well-known ultra-right-wing internet influencers who drank the Kool-Aid, calls them to the White House, gives each one of them a big binder of all the same stuff that they've already got on the internet. Tries to play everybody like they're fools. Now the uproar is even bigger. Trumpers, MAGA faithful, they want the files released. And they can't understand why Trump is so against the files being made public for everyone to see. And to that, I just have one thing to say to any such person who just can't understand why Trump is fighting so hard to keep those files from being made public. But the question, really? Really? You can't understand why? Birds of a feather flock together is the same. And there are hours and hours of Trump and Epstein footage hanging out together at parties where dozens of young women have been collected for them. And you don't understand why he doesn't want to release the Epstein files. If you were to Google the quote-unquote Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein photos, will find more than 200 photos of the two of them together. And you don't understand why he won't release the Epstein files? In a 1996, correct me, fact check if you will, if you want to, I think it was 1996, in a Rolling Stone interview, Jeffrey Epstein says that he was the one who introduced Trump to Melania, and that they had sex for the very first time aboard Epstein's private jet, meaning this jet was also used as a place where women and young girls were being abused. They were taking this plane up into international airspace, where basically things are lawless, and this is where they were committing a majority of these crimes. And you wonder why he doesn't want these files released. In 2016, a woman by the name of Katie Johnson filed a lawsuit alleging that back in 1994, when she was 13 years old, she was raped by both Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein at his house in New York. I read about this case in a legal news publication years ago. Police reports say that the girl was tied to the bed, spread eagled, and raped. At the time, local prosecutors were trying to bring charges, and then the matter was, strangely, settled out of court, and then the case was dropped. Well, Katie Johnson, and I'm assuming it has something to do with her parents getting involved. Katie Johnson, though, once now a grown woman, in 2016, when she saw Trump running for office, she filed a lawsuit in California as Jane Doe. There, it was dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. She immediately refiled the lawsuit in New York, where the rape happened. And very shortly thereafter, she withdrew the lawsuit due to threats being made against her life. And she recently died just a couple years ago. And you wonder why he doesn't want the Epstein files released. Then, just a few months ago, when Elon Musk had a lover's quarrel with Donald Trump, Elon Musk posted on the X site. He said, "This is the bomb drop. Trump is in the Epstein files." And that is what this is all about, people. That is what this is all about. Trump has went from saying that there are Epstein files to suddenly saying there are none. Then suddenly he says that there are, but that Obama and Biden wrote them and that it's a big hoax. Well, Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner in the crimes, she's sitting in prison right now serving 20 years. So this is definitely no hoax, people. And Trump is desperate to try to divert and deflect this motion that they filed to release grand jury transcripts. It's nothing but a ninja smoke bomb being thrown to get you and I to look the other way while they go in another direction. And we already know that those transcripts are worthless because they only concern Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. And none of the evidence contained in them points to everyone else that is said to be involved. Prince Charles, Prince Andrews, Alan Dershowitz, Bill Clinton, Bill Richardson. And now Trump is trying to throw even more smoke bombs to try and divert our attention. He released the Martin Luther King files, the FBI files pertaining to the Martin Luther King assassination, as if there was secret information that we needed to know and were clamoring for. He then decided to demand that the Washington Commanders football team change their name back to the Redskins. He's pulling on all the racist triggers, trying to divert everybody. But finally, the MAGA faithful, they're not drinking that Kool-Aid. Overt racist acts. Oh yeah, that's cool. We don't mind. The open grift and theft of this country. Oh, that's fine. But who knew that this would be the thing to possibly sink the ship? We're doing big things here, people. We got to catch up on next week. Revisit this topic. There is a ton of more things to say. Tell your friends what we're doing here. Tell them to go to YouTube, Instagram, Substack, Facebook. Hey, and let Donald Trump, you can't hide from yourself. You can't hide from yourself. Peace and love, everybody. And remember, all right, if you're not already angry, it's because you're not paying attention. Hey, everybody. Need to make just one slight retraction. It turns out Dan Bongino is still working as the Deputy Director of the FBI. What has happened is they've also hired the Missouri Attorney General to now serve as a co-Deputy Director. So, little fact check right there for everybody, just so we know. Thank you. Peace and love. Thanks for joining us for another edition of the Strange Days Audiocast. Peace and blessings, everybody.